Let's take a look at the highest graded West Virginia players, both on offense and defense, in the Mountaineers' victory over Texas Tech. Let's go! What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Jordan Cruz back here with the Country Roads Webcast. And before I get into this video, just want to give you guys a quick reminder. If you would do us a favor, give us a thumbs up on this video. Giving this video a like will really help not only its performance, but future videos performances here on the channel as well. And if you're a West Virginia fan and you haven't already, be sure hit that subscribe button. Helps us and it helps you, as it helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, let's get into it. All right, so for the first time in his tenure as West Virginia head football coach, Neal Brown has now won 3 games in a row for the West Virginia Mountaineers, and West Virginia has started conference play 1-0 as he has finally got over the hump and defeated Texas Tech, and he needed some great performances from players both on offense and defense to be able to do so. And shout out to that West Virginia defense for the awesome performance they put on in the game against Texas Tech, particularly in the first half or through that first 3 quarters, really 3.5 quarters of absolutely outstanding and smothering defense that the Mountaineers displayed in this game. So let's start there on that side with our top 5 highest grades according to PFF on the defensive side for West Virginia in this win over Texas Tech, starting with number 5 here, and it's Tomi Durajaye, the defensive end that we've seen make a lot of impact for West Virginia this season since he transferred over from Kentucky. As a redshirt freshman, he's already making an impact in minimal snaps. We talked about him earlier in the season. He had 2.5 sacks through West Virginia's first 2 games. Just really looked impressive there, and has continued to be a force in the pass rushing game for West Virginia and clogged up some holes in this game also. And that's despite the fact that he's only playing about 15 snaps or so a game right now. He's making an impact in those little snaps. So shout out to Durajaye for coming out as the 5th highest graded Mountaineer on defense with a 69.9 defensive grade. Then at number 4, a guy that's been a standout, if you've heard from a lot of Mountaineer Nation. They really love the performances that he's been putting on, and that's Trey Lathan at the linebacker position for West Virginia. He was a high-rated recruit when he came in, and it's really started to come to fruition this season as a starter for the Mountaineers, and in this game, he was all over the field yet again, coming out with a 70.9 defensive grade to be the 4th highest graded Mountaineer on defense. And then at third, we actually have a tie here as 2 players graded out with the exact same defensive grade, and those were defensive back Malachi Ruffin and defensive lineman Jalen Thornton. Talk about Jalen Thornton first because I believe he only played about 3 snaps in the game, so very small sample size on him, but you love seeing him make this list and get a chance to be on this player grades video because that's a legacy player for West Virginia, the son of the great John Thornton that really, I think, has a bright future. He's just now starting to get into the mix for the Mountaineers at that position and get into that defensive line rotation. And yet again, it's just another name that you got to throw in there across this deep West Virginia defensive line that's really made a great impact for the Mountaineers this season. And then Malachi Ruffin, we've talked about him a ton. A guy that began his career as a walk-on, has really worked his way up the ladder to the point of being a starter now this season, taking over for Andrew Wilson-Lamp following game 2 for the Mountaineers, and the WVU secondary has not looked back since. He has done a great job opposite Beanie Bishop, and both those 2 guys have provided great snaps and coverage for West Virginia at the cornerback position, as their secondary seems to have really improved over these past couple of weeks, and Malachi Ruffin is one of those reasons. So shout out to Malachi Ruffin and Jalen Thornton coming out as the 3rd highest graded Mountaineers on defense with the 71 overall defensive grade. And then number 2, we get defensive back Marcus Floyd, made his return last week, felt like his impact was known, and this week that certainly happened yet again. Couple different 3rd downs off the top of my head that he really made an impact on, actually with his pass rush that really forced the Texas Tech quarterback to throw before he was ready, led to some incompletions, and the one that comes to mind right away, of course, is the final play of the game that sealed it for West Virginia to be able to get this victory with Texas Tech, in the red zone, approaching the goal line, 4th down and 10. West Virginia brings Marcus Floyd, and they provide enough pressure to get to the quarterback and affect his throw so that it winds up incomplete, and West Virginia is able to win this game. Marcus Floyd did that a couple of times in this game, and yet again was there in spots in coverage as well. Only played, about 17 snaps in this game, but looked really good in that minimal action to come out as the second highest graded player on defense overall with the 76.3 grade. And then lastly, this one should not surprise you if you've been following this. The top graded Mountaineer on defense for the third consecutive week, guys. 3 straight weeks he's been the highest graded Mountaineer on the defensive side, and that's nose tackle Fatorma Mulba. 80.4 defensive grade for the Penn State transfer. You've seen his strength a lot of times this season. In this game, there was a sequence where it was really evident to me. I talked about it in our post-game show. He literally single-handedly blew up a quarterback draw play. And I don't mean that just expression-wise when people use the expression someone single-handedly doing something. No, I mean he literally did. He was getting blocked and then reached out with one hand, grabbed the quarterback, stopped him in his tracks on a quarterback draw. So that just goes to show you the strength that Fatorma Mulba has. And the fact that he's the highest graded player on defense yet again is super impressive just because he's not playing a ton of snaps, played under 20 snaps yet again in this game, still posts an over 80 defensive grade, and for the third straight week is the highest graded Mountaineer on the defensive side. So those are the Mountaineers that stood out on the defensive side according to PFF. Let's flip it over to the other side and talk about the West Virginia offense, and kicking it off at number 5 right here, a player that's quickly becoming a fan favorite, and that's tight end Cole Taylor. He's really been putting on some great performances for the Mountaineers, including touchdown passes in back-to-back games. As he's hauled in the lone touchdown receptions the Mountaineers have been able to gather in their games against Pitt and now Texas Tech as well, as he scored the late touchdown there in the 4th quarter for the Mountaineers off the Nico Marchiol pass in the red zone there up the sideline. Looking good for Cole Taylor this season. He's going to have a handful of touchdowns, I believe, before it's all said and done, and probably going to end up with more receptions than any West Virginia tight end in recent memory. He comes out as the 5th highest graded Mountaineer in this victory with the 67.9 offensive grade. And then you can't say enough about West Virginia's offensive line, and of course the man in the middle that really makes that thing go. The best center in college football, if you're asking me, Zach Frazier. He comes out as the 4th highest graded Mountaineer on offense with a 68.1 overall grade there. And that's just the theme here of what we've got: 4, 3, and 2. It's shout out to West Virginia's offensive line here, because at number 3, it's Thomas Remick, 70.5 offensive grade to be the 3rd highest graded Mountaineer on offense. Got banged up there, had me worried for a second, but was able to come back in and pick right back up where he left off. Continuing a great season here in his sophomore campaign after he earned freshman All-American honors last season after taking over as the starter for James Gamitter. He has looked good, and that continued here in this game. 3rd highest graded Mountaineer on offense with the 70.5. And then number 2 for the Mountaineers, the 2nd highest graded player on the WVU offense. That's right, another offensive lineman. West Virginia's been doing great things because they've had great play in the trenches on both sides of the football. We talked in the offseason about this being one of the best West Virginia offensive lines in quite some time, and I think through 4 games they're certainly showing that. And Doug Nestor, playing the right tackle position, did an excellent job in this game against Texas Tech, coming out with a 76.5 offensive grade. And got to remember, he's protecting Nico Marchiol's blind side now, with Nico being left-handed there. So if West Virginia drops back, Doug Nestor's now the blindside tackle instead of Wyatt Milam, with Nico Marchiol back there. So, of course, that's subject to change when Garrett Green returns. We'll see what happens there. But for now, the offensive line performing great. Doug Nestor doing a great job protecting Nico's blind side, as well as setting the edge for West Virginia on some of those off-tackle plays when they came his way. West Virginia's loved the stretch play this season, used it some again in this game to good success, and Doug Nestor is a big reason why. And the West Virginia offensive line as a whole has been great this season, and they've opened up the holes for one of the great running backs in college football, one of the best running backs in the conference, and that, of course, is C.J. Donaldson. And it is the 2nd consecutive week C.J. Donaldson comes out as the highest graded Mountaineer player on offense, coming out with the 79.4 offensive grade in this one, and he scores yet again another touchdown. And I love seeing him get in the end zone the way that he did. West Virginia lined up under center right on the goal line with our fullback Luke Hamilton in front of him, Traylon Davis in front of him, and CJ coming right up the gut saying, "Here, you know what's coming, try and stop it," and they couldn't. And that's what's been impressive by this West Virginia offensive attack this season. This run game, the offensive line opening the holes, and then C.J. Donaldson making things happen. Even when the defense knows it's coming, they're still getting there, and that's because he's doing a great job really showcasing some physical running, breaking tackles when he has to, and making things happen for the Mountaineers. And, of course, getting into the end zone, as has been a theme for him as of late, and that continued in this game against Texas Tech as he punched yet another one in. That was very important for West Virginia to be able to come out with this very important victory, finally get the win over the Red Raiders, and start conference play now at 1-0. West Virginia does it, and they do it with C.J. Donaldson leading the way there as the highest graded Mountaineer player on offense according to PFF with a 79.4 grade. So there you have it, Mountaineer Nation, the top 5 highest player grades for West Virginia, both on offense and defense, in the big win over Texas Tech. How are you feeling about the names that you saw there? What other players really stood out to you that didn't make the top 5 grades here for PFF this week? And any other West Virginia thoughts you may have now that we are kind of feeling a little bit better about our Mountaineers and hoping to see them continue to rack up more wins like they were able to in this Gold Rush game over Texas Tech. Be sure, let us know your thoughts down there in the comments. We really appreciate those interactions as we continue to try and grow the Country Roads Webcast community throughout Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.